So we have the other recording and then we'll have this. Um, you were talking about parts, Christopher.
So I personally like to carry as much parts as I possibly can. I know it's very expensive to do that, but I find that having the parts and being able to fix it on the first trip sets a really good impression. Of course, there are several things that you're not going to be able to carry, so we do order those and have to make a return trip. Which brings up a good point. We do charge a return service call. Depending on where it is, we either charge our full $85 service call or we do a $50 return service call fee. A lot of insurance companies or warranty companies, extended warranty companies, will pay that without blinking an eye. So that is kind of normal in the industry. So don't feel bad about doing that because it does cost a lot of money, as we all know, to pay for gasoline on these vehicles.
Absolutely. And you can convert a lot more sales that way. So one of the things you started taking up on the truck was awning topper material.
Yeah, Lippert and Carefree, they all sell that roll of awning fabric cut to order stuff. We carry a black roll and a white roll, and we charge $10 a foot plus our labor to install it. And it's a really easy upsell when you're on site because everybody's slide topper fabric is ruined.
Right. Hey, and Brian's back. Sorry about that.
I think they have a 45-minute window.
Yeah, they
And
did.
then after that, they time.
We actually paid for it, but
We were upgrading in the process, but we must have just missed it by 30 seconds. Okay, so I think you just came on when we just shared the tip that Chris just purchased that awning topper material. It comes in a bulk roll, and he can do awning toppers on demand while doing other repairs.
fabric replacement.
Yeah, fabric replacements. Which is
Really? So what do you buy, like 200 feet of it, or how does that work?
I buy a 50-foot roll of black and a 50-foot roll of white, and I carry them both on my truck. And we measure the slide topper right there and cut them. And we charge $10 a foot for the material plus the labor that it takes to put it on.
Wow. What kind of vehicle do you use that you're able to do that?
We use an F350 single rear wheel with a big topper on it. And in the bed of the truck, I have one of those slide trays where I can pull the tray to me. So I don't have to climb the bed of the truck.
we started in a Ford Transit Connect,
Small van.
very small van. And when he no longer stopped,
Yep.
when he was putting on the brakes, we knew it was time to upgrade. So, and our next upgrade will probably be a semi truck because he's running out of room in this truck too.
Honestly, we'll probably go to a beverage truck.
Yeah.
Like a UPS truck, a box truck?
Similar. Like, you ever seen them deliver beverages with the Isuzu front end truck? And it's this box truck and it has roll up doors on the sides. Those give you tons of space to work in them, as well as parts you can carry. Tons of parts and tools.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were there for it. I like to carry as much tools as or parts as possible. I probably have $20,000 to $30,000 worth of inventory on my truck. My truck weighs 10,000 pounds the way it sits with all the parts on it.
Yeah, I'm not in a position for that. I've had times where I'll like stock up, like on the front end of like going into summer, I'll stock up and I'll have like a 13K Dometic and a 13 and a 15K Dometic, one of each air conditioner. Same with Coleman, just so I've got them. But other than that, I suppose I keep about 5 or 6 converters on hand because those seem to be the number one thing I go through is replacing converters. I guess I'm just a little bit different. I just don't have that much inventory, and I don't really want that much inventory just yet. And part of that's a financial decision. So, I'm.
So let me share something with you. The business and everyone, like everything else, people are always getting into it and simultaneously getting out of it, retiring from it. And we were actually,
Yep.
we reached out to someone who happened to be getting out of it, and we just bought his whole inventory that he had remaining, and he sold it to us at a deeply 90% off reduced rate, just to sell all of it at once as opposed to piecemeal. And since then, we've been offered at least 2 more times to buy the entire inventory. So, don't be afraid to negotiate with someone who's getting out of the business. If they're going to sell piecemeal on eBay, they're going to be selling their parts for the next 20 years. You might be able to write them one check that makes them happy and you happy. And you might get some junk. We did get some junk with that.
I still have stuff from 3 years ago, but I've definitely made way more than my money back on all the stuff.
Yeah.
We sold from that. The other thing is, the reason we carry parts like that too is we have a very big service area. I drive. Today I drove 135 miles. So that's normal. We do about 100 miles a day.
How big is your service area, Brian?
Yeah, I do. I think the furthest I go in one direction, I think the furthest I've gone, and I've gone out there a few times now, is probably 130 miles, and that was one way. And like we said before, I'm just very upfront with people, like, okay, the service call fee is $75 for the first 25 miles, and it's $2 a mile after that. And if you're 130 miles away and it costs you almost $300 to get me out there, that's what it costs. And if all I have to do is reset a circuit board on your fridge to make it work, and it takes me 2 minutes, I just let people know, I may get out there and fix it really quick. I mean, if I have to get out there and flip a circuit breaker, you're still going to have to pay me, whatever it was, $250, $300 to get out there. So, but I agree. I 100 miles a day is that's every day, at usually more. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have another question. And feel free, if you're on, to post your questions in the chat. These are just questions that have accumulated. For people moving between different states, how do you handle sales tax, income taxes, and business registration?
I have got nothing on this, so I'm going to leave this. It sounds like you guys do that on a regular basis, bordering on 3 states there. Definitely would require some somewhat complicated, and I don't know. I'm curious to hear the answer on this too.
Oh, you're the one that did it all. You're the one that set it up.
Break it down again, because.
Oh, how do you handle sales tax, income tax, and business registration?
Okay, so we decided to do the business as an S corp. I set it up in Florida as an S corp because that's where we started the business originally. We wanted to keep the same federal ID number. I wanted to keep all my dealers and my distributors and everybody with the same FEID number. So what I did was I set up foreign corporations in North Carolina and Georgia. Those 2 states, once a year, I just have to go and do an annual report and pay a fee, and it keeps the business active in those 2 states. Florida, I do the same thing. So the primary headquarters for this business is Florida, but this business runs in those other 2 states just as if it was the primary business. There's no difference. For sales tax, our software that we use, like I was saying before, is Square, and I collect 7% sales tax for each state that we're in. When we go to Georgia, we log into the Georgia platform. When we go to North Carolina, we log into North Carolina platform. It keeps all that bookkeeping for me. I run a report out of the Square. It tells me how much I owe each state at the end of the month. We log onto the state's websites and do the tax return. I can't honestly tell you how our business taxes are done because I do have an accountant that I use. and he just does that seamlessly, and I pay him, and we're done.
Yeah, I use an accountant as well. So
I did set the business up myself. I do all the annual reports myself. I do all the sales tax myself. I do all that part of it. The actual tax returns, where it comes into my business and my personal and how that works out, that's up to him.
I have another question. Also, those who work predominantly alone, what percentage of your billables end up being kept? What's your profit margin?
I mean, that's
when they say, just to clarify, when they say what percentage of your billables do you keep, they talking about the end of the invoice?
I really don't know what they're talking about, because
what's profit margin? I would say, I don't know exactly what my profit margin is offhand. I would say it is very nice to do a 3-hour job and walk away knowing that that $300 that I just got paid in labor is all mine, minus, whatever tax at the end of the year. But don't forget, there is a markup on parts. I don't gouge too hard on parts. If it's a real small item, if it's a $5 part, I'm probably going to charge the customer $10 retail for it. But when you get up to, an $800-900 water heater, a hot water on demand system, runs about, $700-800-900 for me to get in. Well, I'm only going to turn around and probably make, 200 off it. But what percent do I keep? My biggest expense right now, other than parts, is gas, and it's going up, and it's never fun. I drive a little Honda Pilot, a little 6-cylinder Honda Pilot, and sometimes I pull a trailer with it if I need it. But I do everything I can to minimize costs and keep it, bring home as much of it as I can. But
how do you handle, this is, I know how we handle it. I want to hear about you. How do you handle trip charges when you're doing multiple RVs in the same park?
Great question. So I have had an argument with a campground owner about this very issue. And because I was out there, I had 2 appointments at that campground, and then the campground owner came over and said, well, can you come and look at mine afterwards? And I said, sure. And he said, okay, well, there's no service call fee because you're already here. And I said, look, if you call me up, I've had people call me up and say, look, I'm at this RV park. I've already talked. I've got 2 neighbors who need somebody to come out as well. Can you do all 3 of us? And then we split the service call fee. And because they asked me in advance, I said, okay, I agree to it. That was fine. But if there's no agreement and you walk up and say, hey, can you get me next? Sure, I can, but you owe me whatever my service call fee is to come out there. And when I've had people object to that, I've just said, that's fine. Then call me and set an appointment, and I'll drive back out here and you can pay me the fee then. Or you can wait 10 minutes, pay me the same amount, and I'll see your vehicle right now. So, and I'm not unreasonable with my prices, so I know I'm not screwing anyone over. So most people, especially if it's a water leak, they want it seen right away. And that usually is why people come running up. Either that or their furnace has died and it's going to be cold. So.
Yeah, we also charge everybody the service call fee. There's some mitigating circumstances that, so 2 people might call and be in the same park. Well, one person could cancel. And if you didn't charge the first person the fee, then you've hosed yourself from the second person. And then the other thing is, people in RV parks talk. So you don't want to be in a position having to explain yourself about why this person had to charge, had to pay the fee and another person didn't. So just unilaterally, we charge the fee. And at this point, with gas going up so much, it really obviously offsets the price and it's not making it so that he has to raise the prices right now.
The other thing is we don't call it a trip charge. We call it a service call. So that's what we charge to show up at the door. It doesn't matter if we walked next door or drove 20 miles. It's a service call.
Yep. Do you have a mileage that is included in that? Because mine's $75, but that is only for the first 25 miles. After that, it's $1 or $2 per mile.
We just have a coverage area, and we don't go outside that coverage area. If we are asked to go outside that coverage area, I just kind of guesstimate, and we do raise the trip charge. It depends on the job, though. I don't really need to go outside my coverage area, nor do I really want to, because if I drive an hour and 20 minutes somewhere, I could have been working and making a lot more money than I am sitting behind the wheel of my truck.
Right.
So I prefer not to.
Right. And then if you do branch out of your coverage area, what happens is either you're in an RV park and other people see you and then they want you there too, and now you're stuck outside of your coverage area, or that same customer needs you again. So it's really best for them and for us, for them to find someone else who's closer to them.
Yeah. My problem is there's some big chunks in Eastern North Carolina with no coverage at all. And there are people at some of these nature reserves or nature wilderness preserves, and they're like camp hosts or something out there. And they're literally, no one will get out there. I had one person call and they've been trying to get somebody out there for months and nobody would go. And I finally was just like, you know what? Okay, I'll come out there. And it was expensive for them, but got out there and I just said, look, you're going to have to go on Google, look me up on Google and give me a review for this. So like I said, I'm retired military, so I don't really need the money, but I'm still going to run it as a business. So yeah. And I've only been in it. It's only been 18 months. So there's undoubtedly things will change as the business evolves. So.
Okay. Heather's got some questions. She wants to know, do you write invoices in Square on site with the customer? And the answer to that for us is yes. And
I don't know if you all can see that.
No, they can't see anything. There you go.
That's what the Square basic platform looks like. I have set up the most common things that I use every day, and I can tap that button and it adds it to the sale. Now, it also has an invoicing app. If I can find it.
And I just want to tell you, a lot of people comment on how organized he is because the Square makes everything really nice and clean and sharp. And, he's not sitting there with paper and pen writing things out. He's just tapping while Hutch is, buttoning up the RV.
So that's a paid invoice. We took 2 payments in that invoice. We took a deposit for parts, and then we went back later and finished the invoice out. And if you scroll, if you scroll like this, you can see, the line items on how the invoice looks. And we do everything digital. I do absolutely nothing on paper. Everything is through email or text messaging, because this app will allow you to do text messaging as well. Send invoices, text messaging.
Brian, did you say you use Square too?
I use Square to process payments because QuickBooks,
Right, that's right.
whatever it is, they're processing of payments I'm not interested in. I was kind of warned against it. So I use them for that. Looking at that looks great. In fact, it looks a little bit simpler than what QuickBooks is set up to do, but I do my invoicing through them right now. Again, I'm using them because I just haven't had the downtime to just sit and get everything with Square figured out and get it all set up and go with it from there. So, but it's the same way. Somebody wants a hard copy invoice. I tell them, look, I'll print one out and mail it to you when I get home. But I also, when scheduling and everything, I make it a point to tell people I'll get off the phone with them, or I'll be talking to them on the phone. They'll tell me their issue. I always like to tell them, look, as soon as we get off the phone, I need you to text to this number your full name, your address, and what we talked about. Okay. And as soon as I get home, I'll open up my schedule book and I'll figure out when I can put you in. But that way I've got a record of it. And I've got in my phone, I've got a little notes app that I can open up, and I just hit one of them and I've got a little prepared speech with my mileage rates and service call fee and hourly rates. And I text that to them. And the last part of it is, if you want to, if you want me to contact you to schedule an appointment, click, say agree. And then they say agree. Well, now I've got a record of them agreeing to my rates. So it makes them less likely to argue it in the future.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as the actual invoices, it's QuickBooks. Yep.
I know that just as a note, you did the legwork up front and found out that Square had one of the lower processing fees.
Right, and they don't charge you any kind of a monthly fee.
Yeah.
Like other processing.
Agreed. I don't like when I have to process cards over the phone where you have to manually type it in because that costs more. But I would rather pay whatever 3.25% it is if you manually enter it. I'd rather pay that and get my money the next day than wait for a check and play any of those games. So
well, also I want to say, anybody else who has questions, please go ahead and put that in the chat. Heather has one more question. When you work at the local shop, Chris, do you bill or do they do 1099?
We bill them just like they were any other customer, except they give us their tax exempt form, and we don't charge them sales tax like we would another customer.
Yeah.
Most shops usually will want to supply their own parts anyway, so it's really just the labor that you're billing them, unless you happen to have something on the truck and you can finish the job and they don't have the part. So, but yeah, we don't 1099 them currently. We just bill them like another customer.
Jess asks, how do you let customers know your rates when taking a job? We recently went out to one and had already started work when they got uncomfortable with the price of the repair. So before I actually schedule the job, I tell them, so they'll call and say, I have a leak. And I'll tell them, okay, I can get someone out to you as early as Wednesday. Have we worked with you before? Because if we have, then they know our rates, and if we haven't, then they don't. And they'll say yes or no. If they say no, I'll say, okay, so our rates are $140 an hour, and we have an $85 service charge plus any parts that you need. If that's acceptable with you, then I can give you Wednesday from 1 to 4. I can give you an appointment from Wednesday to 1 to 4. And so we'll proceed from there. Again, that's like a 9 out of 10 people will say yes, that's fine, with the 10th person saying, oh no, that's much more than I budgeted for. So we just make it a principle to be very, very upfront.
We make sure they know before we go there exactly what they're going to be doing, because so it's 85 plus 140, so there's a $225 minimum. That's it. So if they're okay with it, we go. And if they're not, we move on.
So do you guys do a minimum 1 hour billing?
Yes.
Okay. Even if you open it to 5, it takes you 10 minutes.
Yeah, we do 1 hour minimums.
Well,
there are
flexible.
exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
If it's a simple thing, like I went to somebody who didn't turn the blending valve for their water heater for the winterizer thing, the winterizing. I charged them the $85 service call. I didn't charge them the labor, because I didn't pull any tools out. But if I'm pulling tools and parts off the truck, there's a minimum.
Right. And, you have to be flexible with your customers. You have to understand, that you're investing in the customer, just like the customer's investing in you. A lot of our customers are repeat customers over and over again, which saves us a lot of time. It costs much more energy to go get a new customer than it does to keep making the same customer happy. So, you just have to be flexible and read the room and understand all the things. There are some times where someone will come up to you in a park, you're already in the park, and it's like a no-brainer thing, and he'll just say, there's no charge, or, if you want to give me a tip, that's fine, or whatever,
Yeah, the ones where the circuit breaker popped and they didn't
Right.
realize to turn it all the way off and then turn it on. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had those when I think you make a better name for yourself when you're like, don't worry about it. Here's my card. Next time something real comes up, give me a call,
Right. So interestingly enough, and I'm glad you said that, today we got a call from someone we got a call from months ago who left some equipment out of their RV. They were not a customer of ours. He frequented the park a lot, and they called us and said, we mistakenly left some of our stuff out. Could you get the key and put it back in? And we were like, yeah, I guess we could do that. So we did that, and that was it. He did that, and that was it. And they called today and said, hey, I'm the one who you put that stuff back in months ago. My stuff's broken now. Can you come and repair it? New stuff, not the stuff we put in. But, just, being flexible, running your business, treating people how you would want to be treated goes a long, long way.
Yep.
So I like the idea of your spiel. That helps. Do any of you provide over the phone service and charge for that time? Yes, sometimes we do that too.
Yeah, a lot of times, if it takes me 10 or 15 minutes on the phone, I won't charge them because I know they'll call again. But and I don't know that I've ever actually billed anybody to talk on the phone with them, but I've had people insist on paying me something. So that's how that works out. Usually I just try to turn it into a service call for a later date. Now, I'm not going to spend an hour and a half on the phone with you for nothing, because of course you can't live that way. But
Sometimes a half an hour.
10, 15, 30-minute call, I just take it and move on.
Yeah. So, well, especially if I'm in the vehicle and I'm in between jobs and I'm driving, and I've got some time, so we can talk through some stuff. But I have had a couple of customers who really just wanted me to diagnose everything for them over the phone so they could try and do it themselves. And one of them kept asking questions and kept kind of repeating himself and going through the story again. And I finally just said, look, I need you to use an action verb now and tell me what you want done. Do you want me to come out and fix it or what? And he was like, well, no, I think I'm going to try it. And I'm like, all right, good luck, goodbye. And then I didn't block him on my phone, but I did put a little asterisk in front of his name. So it says customer, asterisk, and then his name. And that's my warning. So if my phone rings and I see that, I know, be careful before you pick this phone up. And if it's a dollar sign, that means that person owes me money. And if it's an exclamation point, that means that person is one of those 10%ers that you just need to not take calls from.
Yeah.
And I've got a few customers. One thing I have learned, if somebody tells you they always take really good care of people who do work for them, they are going to truly screw you with they are professional scam artists. Only two have tried it, and one of them I actually walked off the job in the middle of it. It was the only time I've done it. I just said, that's it, no more. I will not deal with you again, and packed everything up and left. And
who you definitely don't want to do work for is those like flippers, RV flippers. They're trying to squeeze as much profit out of that RV. They've probably gotten in over their head. They don't want to pay labor. They don't want to pay parts. They don't want to pay anything. So that was one of the people that
we never really experienced that here. A lot in South Florida, there's a lot of them, and we just decided that if they tell us that they're planning on fixing it up and selling it, we just kind of bow out of that one. But that's okay. I mean, it's just not for us. Somebody else will do it, and maybe it'll work for them. But,
yeah. Wendy and Rick want to know, if you have a return call, a call back on the same issue, do you charge again?
It really depends on the situation. If it's a part failure, I do warranty my service for 30 days labor, and usually if the part has failed, the manufacturer is going to cover your labor rate and your part. So you're really not going back for free. Now, if it's something that you've done that has changed or broke the situation, and you'll know that when you get there, then yeah, you just, we just take care of it.
Yeah.
But it really all depends. If we've installed a water heater or an awning for a customer and the motor dies 30 days later and it's a Dometic motor, well, Dometic gives you a year warranty on that motor. So we call Dometic, we're Dometic dealers, and Dometic will pay us to replace the part. So.
How about you? How do you handle that, Brian?
So if I think at all that maybe I screwed up, maybe something on the installation went wrong, usually I go back out there for free, especially if they're not too far away. The closer they are, the better. But I do go back out there and try and mitigate it. Like, let's say I install I repair a water heater, and then something else on it fails. Usually I've only had maybe once or twice where the same issue recurred, in which case it turned out to be a larger issue was going on. But if a water heater, the water heater fails, and then you go out there, you repair it, it's working fine, you leave, and then, like you said, it's a judgment call. If it's 2 days later and suddenly it's failed again, okay, maybe I did screw something up. But if it's, 2 months later, I'm sorry, these things break. So, but it also really depends, especially if it's a repeat customer and I've been out there multiple times. I'm far more likely to go back out there for free than, so it kind of depends. I guess that's not a real good answer. It depends, but I try not to. But if I think I may be responsible, yeah, I'll go back out there and mitigate it at my cost. So,
yeah. Okay, well, this is last call for questions. Brian, if people want to pick your brain, how and where can they do that?
Well, you can Up and Running Mobile RV Repair is on Facebook. You can reach out to me there. I don't mind, in fact, I'll put my number in this is my cell phone number. Feel free to call. Let me put my name next to it. If you have questions, please honestly text me first and just be like, hey, business question from the Zoom meeting or something. Let me know who you are. So before you just, before you call, and then I'll reach out to you when I can. I can't really make any promises, but usually it'll be somewhere where I'm driving, in between calls. And, I'm happy to talk. I may or may not be able to help. That's kind of what I tell my customers. I'll do my best. I'm not going to, if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know.
So that brings up one more point. For phone service, we don't use our personal cell phones. I don't want customers calling me at all hours of the night on my personal cell phone. So we use a service called Grasshopper. I do pay, I think, and don't quote me on it, it's like $350 a year, but it gives me an 800 or a toll-free phone number that I can also have customers text, and we can text out of, and you can set up extensions just like a big company. It looks like you're a phone switch, you're hidden behind a big building. And I forward the service calls that come in or the main hotline to Kimberly's phone, and I'm still able to monitor them and text as well as she is from an app through the phone. So that way, if you don't want to be bothered on the weekends, you can send it to a voicemail and get back to them when you want to, but you are not beholden. They don't have your personal cell phone. They're not going to call you at 3:00 in the morning. Now, she's not always great about calling people back, hiding her number with the toll-free number.
I'm good about calling people back. He said that wrong, but sometimes I use my regular phone to do
number,
it.
So there is that exception to the rule. I try not to disclose my personal number.
Yeah, and what I like about our number is we're 1-833 iFix RVs, so it makes it easy. It looks great on the truck. It's easy for people to remember, and it makes us look like a bigger business than just the two of us. Well, there's three of us.
Nice.
So, yeah. Well, I want to thank everyone who joined us. I did make a recording. I'm sorry it's going to be split in two, but you're more than welcome to, I'll post the recordings in the thing. If you do want to ask us any questions, please feel free to reach us on Facebook. You can send me a PM or you can tag me in a post, and I will bother Chris until he gives me the answer. So that's how that will go. But I'm glad. I hope this was helpful to everybody. And if it was, we'll consider doing it again, maybe in a couple months, just to help people, you know, with their businesses. And Brian, I want to thank you for volunteering to help. That was really nice.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad you guys were able to set this up. You know, if you decide to do another one and you'd like to have me back, I'd more than happy to do that. If anybody on here, yeah, if you need to reach out to me one-on-one, even if it's like a repair question, I'll certainly help you if I can. And if anybody wants to move out to Eastern North Carolina, there's plenty of work, and there's a few areas where there's zero coverage. So I can refer you to a few spots. It'll be some drive time, but you can probably charge top dollar and nobody complains. So
nice. Nice.
Yeah.
And good luck, Rick and Wendy, with your company, Compass Mobile RV Services. That's awesome. Congratulations. Wish everyone the best of luck and safe travels. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
all right, bye.